Sorry. Can everybody see the slides okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're sharing the presenter screen though.
Oh. You see now?
Still presenting. Oh no, you just got press the
did it
slideshow
go?
at the bottom. No, just press that button there. That's it. Oh no.
Not doing it, is it? That's fair. I'll try again.
There you
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, you got it now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Okay. Hello, everybody. We're just waiting for a few more to join. We've got quite a large number expected, but hopefully we'll get started in a minute or two. We've got a few joining. Erin's admitting people as they come in. A bit of an overview I'll give you now just before we start. If you do have questions, pop them in the chat. I'll keep repeating that really throughout. Erin will try and respond to any questions, or she'll direct them to our panel as well. So any questions at all, please feel free to drop them in. And if there's any technical issues as well, if you can't hear me or anything like that, please let me know as well. I will just give it one more minute and we'll just see, because I can see the numbers are building nicely. And welcome if you're just joining. Can everybody see the slides okay? Yeah. Bizarre. Trying to see if I recognise any faces here. Claire, James, Monica, Laura. Have you got colleagues joining us, Christina? Are you expecting any colleagues?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I've shared it, but I'm not sure who's joining.
Yes, thank you. It's really appreciated. I think we are running at 4 minutes in now, so I think we'll get started. We'll do some bits of introductions and bits and pieces, but firstly, I'd like to welcome you all. I won't do my introductions now. I just wanted to really start with the theme and what we're looking to achieve from today. So it is about data, AI, apprenticeships and women, all of those four things collected together really, and how they lead to growth, how women and apprenticeships contribute to growth within data and AI industries. So we've got a panel of wonderful experts here to talk about their experiences, their journeys, their insights, maybe answer some questions if anybody has questions. As I say, please do drop them into the chat and Erin will either try and respond and give further information, or one of the panel or myself will support with that as well. So welcome again. Thank you for attending. I know it's your lunch hour probably, and you're giving up valuable time, but it's a really valuable topic to be talking about, especially National Apprenticeships Week. But it's a key theme of an issue that's not changing very rapidly, not quickly enough for my liking anyway. So a little bit of an intro to us all. Is everybody okay within the panel to have a little intro to yourselves? I don't mind who kind of goes first. Maybe follow the flow of the chain there, and just a bit about yourself, why you're here, maybe your background, maybe your experience of apprenticeships as well. How do you know about apprenticeships? What's your involvement with them? So that'd be really good. I'll start with myself. So I'm the new apprenticeship delivery manager at Projecting Success. I've only been here since January, but it's breathtakingly different from anything I've done before. I've always worked in apprenticeships, but never one so passionate, one so data driven, genuinely data driven. It's not apprenticeships driven, it's about data, it's about changing the sector, it's about using data to benefit on a much larger scale. So I'm loving it, but I've been in apprenticeships for years. I've been in HE and FE as well. But data's maybe something that I want to explore further. I've worked in digital and data, and there's always been that gap of women within the industry. So I feel I'm in the right place to drive that forward. I think Projecting Success are really working to do that as well. So I'll hand over, Christina, you're next on the list according to my image.
Oh, great. Thanks, honored to be here. So a bit of background about myself. I'm Cristina Sanchez. I'm BIM Manager, Digital Engineer at Lendlease. My background is as an architect, and lately I'm having to clarify it's not the kind that makes software or data, it's the kind that makes building. But somehow it's led me towards that direction. So I specialize in BIM and digital construction, just from the drive to do things better, more efficiently, and use tools in the right way. Which is why when I was offered the opportunity of a data apprenticeship, I jumped to it because it just makes sense. BIM is effectively a database with a visual output. When I started apprenticeship, I was saying earlier last week in James' podcast, that is like taking the red pill in Matrix, and then suddenly you see that everything around you is data that you can use and manipulate and learn from a certain extent. So yeah, it's a tough journey working with an apprenticeship, but it's something that I'm loving. So yeah, great to be here today.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you ever so much. Laura, over to you.
Hi, thanks for having me. So I'm a project manager in the civil service. I am currently undergoing my data analytics apprenticeship. So I've been on that since March last year. And just to build on Christina's point, it's kind of really opened my eyes to, how much we are surrounded by data and how much it can impact our daily lives and work. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it and kind of learning how we can reshape project delivery as well with data. It's really exciting.
Thank you. Thank you ever so much, Laura. It's lovely to have you here. Claire.
Afternoon, everybody. Yeah, once again, thank you so much for having me on this. It's a topic that I'm really quite passionate about, to be honest. I started what feels like many moons ago, back in the oil and gas industry. And when I rocked up on site to start my role as a trainee sort of cost person, I was literally the only woman in the building. And to see it grow from being the only woman and really kind of pushing that and pushing the ability to get more and more women involved in STEM has seen a massive increase. And so doing things like this, I think, is really helpful. And the output of doing things like this has that knock-on effect to bring more women and more diversity into this particular arena. So yeah, really looking forward to that.
That's really interesting to hear. And it's nice to hear you are seeing that change. It's not always everywhere, and that's probably part of the problem. Maybe you're in an organisation that supports that more, but it needs to be across the board, doesn't it? But yeah,
Definitely.
Thank you ever so much for joining us. James, the brave man.
Hi, everyone.
I'm pleased to see you here. We need men here.
Well, I'm happy to be the token man, no problem at all. No, I'm really pleased to be here and support this. I'm a little bit about me. I'm a director at Lead, so I've been in the industry quite some time now. So I'm coming up for 25 years in the industry, but I was always interested in what was then sort of digital transformation, I guess, and then had a very good sort of career as a quantity surveyor for 20 years, working on all kinds of amazing projects, but always thought there would be a better way of doing things. And I was lucky enough to be given the opportunity to go on the apprenticeship back in sort of, I think it must have been 2021 now. So I'm an alumni of the apprenticeship, and it really, I mean, I'm not being over the top when I say it has totally changed my career. So I'm now head of AI and data at Leeds. And that all started from doing the apprenticeship and then sort of joining the dots about what this means for our profession. And it's taken me down a path that sometimes, can be a bit scary because you start looking at things in a totally different way. But it's also amazing because then it gives you the opportunity to make a real difference in your career. and you can stand out from the crowd. I find the people that I know who have done the apprenticeship can really, really stand out from the crowd, because you can see things from a different perspective and a different paradigm. And then you can actually start creating things. And if you're a creative person, the ability to create stuff and make stuff and show it to people is incredibly fulfilling. So I was only too happy when I was asked to come on this to give my experiences, because it's genuine. It was an absolute game changer for me, changed my career, pretty much changed my life as well. And I'm not the only one. I know a lot of people who have been through this. So if you're thinking about it, all I can say is go for it, because there is no downside as far as I can see, especially if you're being funded by the apprenticeship levy. It's absolutely brilliant. And the team at Projecting Success are amazing. They support you all the way through. I've made sort of lifelong friends from Projecting Success, having gone through the apprenticeship. So yeah, big thumbs up for me. I'll take the 50 quid later, Rebecca.
I think we could just all go now. Nothing needs to be said. Thank you. No, thank you. It's really appreciated. That's really, really nice to hear. I do strongly, passionately believe in apprenticeships and women in data, and to hear that you've had a good experience, just that's what we do it for. It makes it all worthwhile. So yeah, thank you ever so much. Finally, Sonica.
Hi,
Over
everyone.
to you. How'd you top that?
Yeah, hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm a document manager at National Highways. I ensure compliance to information standards and utilising digital platforms to drive delivery and ensure the compliance is in line with ISO standards. I started the apprenticeship, the level 4 apprenticeship back in April 2024, and it's just looking at new ways to, again, drive that compliance.
That's lovely. Thank you ever so much, and thank you for being here, all of you. Like I say, your time's really appreciated, and everybody else who's joined us as well. It's a really good, interesting topic. It's a really essential topic to be covering right now, especially in National Apprenticeships Week, which is great to see you all here. I'm going to move on because I'm just mindful of time. I don't know if anybody saw Martin's post on LinkedIn yesterday. We put a bit of data together. I've been looking at this for a little while myself of what is the problem, what is the issue. And we are here to talk about apprenticeships generally and data, but one of the key themes today was maybe to have a look at how we bring women into the industry. There's some startling statistics here for me. When I started digging, I knew there's a problem, but when I started looking, I thought it's bigger than I thought. And I wanted to understand why. We've been talking about this for too long. But from my perspective, I feel like we've been talking about this for too long. And are we getting the impact? That the final point on this slide here about we don't believe we'll have equal representation based upon the figures right now until 2070. So that we're not making the progress we need to quickly enough. So I wanted to cover some of those themes within this discussion today and see what the panel's thoughts are. I will move on past that slide because that's just some data for you and some statistics to get your mind thinking about women and the gender gap. But we also are going to look at apprenticeships in general as well. I think if we could just start off firstly, can we just talk about maybe apprenticeships and how they may play a part in bridging this gap? Is this the right forum? Are there better forums? Are there other ways to do it? Maybe Claire, I know you're really passionate about it. You said you've seen change and women coming into your industry and within your organisation. Have apprenticeships been a part of that? What has contributed to it, and what can we do, I guess?
So I think that, I mean, there's many different facets to that kind of question, isn't there? I think initially we lose a lot of female at the school age. The tendency is that boys will go off in boys subjects and girls will go off in a girl subject, so to speak, if they go with those stereotypical type roles. And so I think more needs to be done at that level. And what I have done in the past is actually get in there amongst sort of the 16-year-olds that are leaving school, the 17, 18-year-olds that are at the sixth form areas, and looking at and talking to them about what it's like, and bringing kind of a bit of visibility about gender equality into that as well. So when I go, I take both male and female counterparts in our respective disciplines, and we talk to them about what it looks like for us. And I think having that really definitely helps. We did it where we actually set up in the local area with one of our projects way back many years ago when I was working oil and gas, and we actually brought in we did almost like a work experience program for those that were in the sixth form element of it, and actually we ended up with a 50-50 split on male and female that were interested. When we had those conversations, we brought them in, we did the work experience with them, and then out of those we took on 2 of the female candidates that we'd had at work experience. We actually took them on at the end because they were the best candidates for that role that we were looking for to push that through. In the role that I do now on our project controls framework, and again it sits perfectly with data because that's project controls all over, isn't it? But again, we do like a project controls apprenticeship, a trainee program, and we involve, again, we get heavily involved at different levels, different age groups, transferable skills, making it more accessible and inclusive. And I sort of wrote it down a little bit as well. So we had, in total to date over the last sort of 5 years, we've had 60 come through the training and apprenticeship scheme, 50-50 split on gender, which is incredible. It's amazing. And out of that 50-50 split, 77 of those women actually still work with us and have been promoted on multiple occasions through the business. So we are creating that future leadership, if you will. And that goes on and on in the fact that actually now our leadership for our framework is 80% female heavy. So that's something that we've worked really, really hard to kind of achieve, hence the passion. But that's something that we work at every day, and we're constantly looking at how does our diversity look at? You know, we have other leaders from other sectors come in and say, what are your thoughts on what this looks like and how we're going about this as well? So I think getting in there at every possible level and thinking about the school leavers, the transferable skills of maybe people looking at career changes and making it more accessible for people and working with them as opposed to just having this generic approach to everybody really opens up and becomes more accessible for diversity.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Sorry, just one thing, Claire. I love what you're doing, and I think one of the points that may go unnoticed in what you do is not just so much about spreading the information and making it accessible, but also about the presence of a role model,
Yes.
like you or any of your colleagues, because we often underestimate how important it is for people who are deciding their careers to see someone they identify as and they want to be and they can be like them because there's someone who has done their journey. So I think that's something that we can do, and it falls on us, the women who are already working on data, to go around and showcase this is possible, and if you want it, there's people who have done it and have been successful.
Yeah, absolutely agree, Christina.
There's a couple of points I kind of wanted to pick up on there. It's catching it early, Claire. You're completely correct. It's in schools. If it's not done within schools, you've sometimes lost them already. They've already made a decision of that bias that I'm heading down that route because I'm a girl. So it's about the right school. It's about STEM being in schools earlier. But as well, Christine, that role model thing, that I think that maybe comes across in apprenticeships that you wouldn't get down a normal university route. One of the benefits of apprenticeships, working with female bosses, working with other women who are doing that job, which you maybe wouldn't always get going down the university field and the university route. So I think that's a definite benefit of apprenticeships as well. I think how they play a part in addressing this gap. Sorry, James, over to you.
Yeah, I just wanted to make the point, sort of reinforcing what Claire said around you got to get into the schools early, because unfortunately people do, you know, the longer you leave it, it's kind of the boys and the girls sort of go onto their sort of traditional paths, if you know what I mean. So one of the things that we did as part of the task force, the Project Data Analytics Task Force, which I'm the current chair of, is we actually went into schools at primary school age, and we got them to get interested in the built environment by utilizing things that they were familiar with. In this case, it was Minecraft, and it was an amazing experience, and that was an absolute mix between boys and girls. And I think what's important is it opened people's eyes, and it allowed us, and we had the support of the RICS on this one as well, it allowed us to plant at that point in these kids' brains that this is a career for everyone. Because unfortunately, by the time kids get to secondary school even, it's so structured now that a minute they arrive, they're already being taught about what options they're going to go for. And it's almost too late. It's almost too late. So I think it's really important to get speaking to kids. They mature so quickly now. Even at the age of 10 is a good. And it was such a rewarding process to do that with those kids at primary school age. It was amazing.
Thank you for that, James. That was very early. I wasn't expecting that early, but you are right. And our young girls today are much more digital native than I ever was. They do play Fortnite and all these other things, Minecraft. They are much more engaged with technology at a very, very early age. So hopefully that might have payoff in the down the line. But the initiatives that you're talking about are fantastic. I just want to remind anybody who's joined, if you do want to ask any questions in the chat or field any questions or pose anything to the team, then please drop it in the chat, and we will, Erin will pass on that message and share that with us and pose the question. Anybody else want to contribute to that part, or I was maybe going to start talking about apprenticeships and your experience? Maybe Laura, Sonika, how have you got on within your industry and your sectors as well? I don't want to disclose your sectors, but sometimes they are maybe not as forward thinking. Claire, you seem like your organisation is really making headway with this, but not all organisations are. Is your experience of apprenticeships, how do you find the whole experience of working as a woman in data and AI within your industries? Is there anything you feel needs to change, or have you got any solutions, I suppose?
Apologies, was that to me, Rebecca? Sorry.
No, sorry, it's to Laura or Sonika. I think,
okay, thank you. Just clarify.
Sorry, no. I think your experience is really not unique. It's a very positive.
It's something
to
have been worked out.
Yeah, of course. Laura, Sonika, what's your experience of working within apprenticeships, data and AI, and particularly with that emphasis of how is that supporting you as a woman potentially to make headway?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying my apprenticeship. It's just, as I said before we joined the call, it kind of opens my eyes every day to new experiences and new ways that we can be doing things, and really taps into that curiosity that I kind of seek to maintain in my work life and my personal life. Like, how can we change what's going on here? And there are struggles across industry about women getting into STEM, and there's huge disparities between sort of data analysts. I think I read somewhere that there's like 4 male data analysts for every 1 woman, which is it's a big difference. I would say I've had quite a positive experience. I've had a lot of support and pushing me to really go out and achieve stuff, and I think it's really helped me feel empowered to go out and have those conversations with senior leadership and kind of push the narrative, and also reach down and help pull people up. So I work with a network that supports younger generation coming into their early careers, and taking this conversation and making sure that message is spread with them as well, so they've got someone they can go and talk to about potentially joining the apprenticeship, or how do they change their career. How squiggly careers is a thing. You don't have to stick with your one career and that's it for life. You can change. I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
I mean, a good point there, though, is there's more women entering than before, potentially. and it's about that early introduction. However, when women are within data, they're more likely to leave. They don't stay in it for a long projected career. So I think one of the statistics, if we just go back to the slide, for every 4 men, they leave at a 2 times higher rate than men, the industry. Why is that? So I've got that question around what's that. So we fine, we can attract them, but how do we keep them? Is it something that organisations are doing? Are we leading from the front? I don't know what the answer to that one is. Any insights on why women might be leaving?
I think sometimes it's having a group that you feel comfortable and can be represented in, and if it is a dominantly male environment, perhaps that does play into it, and you may question if it's the right career, right place for you. Do you feel comfortable challenging in that environment as well?
It's about that longer journey. It's capturing them like James is early at primary school and sending that positive message. But then when they're in it, keeping and retaining, I guess. So it is about having, as you said, positive female role models. Christina, if you've got female leadership management that are striving forward and making headway and pathway, then I think you are more inclined to stay because you feel supported, you feel represented, don't you, I guess. Sorry, go on, Christina.
No, I was just thinking about the reasons, because in my case, in my company, it was actually the other way around. So they started a first cohort of apprentices, and from the ones that started, the ones that actually completed the first part of the program were only 3 women. And then the one person that is working formally as a data analyst is also a woman. So in my side, our company, we do have this culture of being equal compared to maybe other companies in the construction sector. So it really depends on the context you're in.
I totally agree. I just wanted to come back because it is National Apprenticeships Week. We've not really talked about your experience of apprenticeships as such. As women and James, within your own organisation as well, and your own experience, how can we use apprenticeships to address this gap? Is it the right forum? Is this the way forward, or is it a collection of other things? What does the apprenticeship maybe bring that we could use and utilise to attract more women, I guess, really? And anybody really? Claire? James, go on. How do you feel apprenticeships are supporting this movement forward with women and people in data and AI as well, Joe? Because we have got a skills gap nationally, not just gender-based, but we've got a skills gap nationally as well.
I think that the beauty of the apprenticeship is that it's for everyone, right? So and it's for all sexes and all ages. It doesn't matter. I think what you've got to do within an organization is be absolutely clear that it is available for everyone. The way we're trying to address that in my company is we do a survey to the whole business where they can fill in a load of questions, and then from that we work out who is applicable or who would be best suited to different apprenticeships. And that way that everyone's been given the same opportunity, rather than a culture where people have to maybe put their hands up to be on an apprenticeship, because that can sometimes be difficult for people, right? To have to put their head above the parapet. So I think if you make it just part of the culture within a company that, we do these, whether it's a survey or an interview, it doesn't really matter, but some way of giving an equal assessment to the company that everybody is got equal access to these skills, then that goes a long way to stopping people feeling like, oh well, I've got to put my head above the parapet in any way.
I like that, and I think I like the fact that apprenticeships are broad and give people the ability to do some skills at one level, but excel in others. You don't have to be excelling in all areas. So it does suit learners' needs better in that respect, that they can, they might be a specialist in programming, but they've not got a strength in a particular area. But it's been tailored to be quite broad, so everybody can achieve, I think, build a good solid basis, but then excel in other areas depending on your sector, your industry, your employer, really. Has anybody got any other experience of apprenticeships and how it's supported them? We've heard really good examples of people that say it's changed their life.
I have one thought. I'm thinking about some of my apprenticeship colleagues who were mothers and how they were, it's really hard to manage time, but they were doing it and they were doing it well. And I'm thinking how it's obviously a challenge to have some study time together with your full-time job and being a mother. But I've seen, the people that I've seen were actually as successful, if not more successful than men that were doing it, because mothers are really good at managing time. And it's probably a point in their career where they wouldn't consider to stop working and start a degree full time because they have commitments, they have things that they need to make work. However, it is possible if it's something that is done alongside with your day job. So that's an opportunity for mothers as well.
And we need money as well. Mums, childcare is very expensive.
Exactly.
So yeah, you can't be working and doing a degree on top and those types of things. And then not picking up that large student debt as a parent or a family. Do you want to be doing that? So it is the best route for many women, especially mums and dads as well. There's often men out there that are raising children. It's a really good progression route for them. So it does make it more accessible, but then it's hard to manage. You all know this. You've all been through this. How do you manage studies, the apprenticeship, the work commitment? It's a lot. How do you find you manage that? Laura, you're currently in it. You're in the thick of it.
Yeah, it can be. There are peaks and troughs, moments of intense, and you're kind of like, I don't know where to start. But I'm a huge fan of like time blocking, making sure I'm turning off any distractions, making sure my team are aware that I will be doing my apprenticeship in that time. Please don't disturb me. It is really important. I'm doing good work, I promise, and it will impact the work that I'm doing will impact the team as well and bring positive changes to the team. So yeah, I think I just have to be really strict with myself, and it's not always possible that things pop up, and but it's making sure you can reflect on those moments and you're doing your best, and you're still working in that positive arc.
I think the growth of apprenticeship personally for me it would have changed my life. I had children years ago when they weren't readily available. So it was leave your role almost or go very much part-time so you can study. And that was the only option available. So for me, I wish I'd had them 25 years ago when it was my time to do that. Because I wouldn't have had loads of student debt and I would have been able to maintain a job and not go part-time. I think it for me, it's critical. It's one of the biggest things that would signpost me towards an apprenticeship for women to succeed and to achieve and do well. So that's really good. I'm just mindful of time. We've got about 25 minutes left. I do want to look at your viewpoints on how we foster and support a culture of STEM and women progressing within the industry, I guess. Do we see there as a bit of a glass ceiling, or do we not feel that's there anymore? Any thoughts from anybody? Is there a glass ceiling?
I think there still is to a degree, isn't there? I think if you look across companies at their heightened leadership teams, the majority of people in those seats are still male, and we are starting to see some change, but probably not enough as much as we would personally prefer. I talked about our own framework leadership team is predominantly female heavy, and that's great. Does it represent out throughout the entirety? Probably not. so much, to be perfectly honest. But I think if you are a woman trying to get into STEM, if you're thinking about apprenticeships and all the rest of it, I think something that's really key to look at is actually you're choosing an organization as much as they're choosing you. So try and look for an organization that sits well within your your own principles, how you want to be seen to be treated, how do they treat the women in their organizations already, and do they have fair representation, diversity from every angle, and how does that sit with you? I think doing your research and having similar viewpoints as an organization to you really helps you thrive, because you know you're entering the right culture. There's more longevity in that. These are the sorts of questions you can ask them when you're going through those interview processes, when you're getting a little bit more in depth and you're having your career development conversations. It's about where you want to go and making sure you have fair representation to help you get there. And I think that's something that we can support in our roles by the fact that we are visible to all of these people. Come talk to us. Let's get you mentorships with the right people that are really advocating for women to move onwards and upwards.
That's really interesting. I look at it from my perspective as an apprenticeship training provider. What companies do we work with? Are these companies advocating for women? Have they got that fair representation? We have a responsibility as a training provider to ensure we are working with ethical companies that are pushing and striving for these things, that are supporting all of our learners, no matter what their gender, whatever it may be. So yeah, it's I've had that focus for a couple of years of, are we doing that? It's not just about the employers, it's about us working with them and in partnership, and signposting learners to them, because often we do that as well. We signpost learners to the employer. So we've got a responsibility as well. Does anybody else want to follow up on that? Anything to add on that at all? No? Cool.
So,
okay. Yeah.
Just wanted to drop a thought on an article I read earlier this week, which talked about different paths to professional success for women and men. And the study was showing that success tends to happen for men based on passion, so being outstanding based on passion, whether for women is more for drive. And the nuance is probably related to the energy, to the aggressiveness of the path to success versus having maybe a bit more resilience and grit. And maybe sometimes that glass ceiling comes from what is perceived as preferable. So when it's a male dominant leadership, they probably prefer that masculine aggressiveness, energy, and passion versus a more generally feminine. Of course, there are exceptions, but I'm talking generally, the drive and the resilience. So it's also something for leadership to be aware that sometimes your first intuition of what makes a good leader is good to challenge it and see values that are maybe different to your first thought, but can still bring value and balance.
So those differences, I'm not saying it's across the board, but like you say, those general differences that we do have, how does that suit a woman being in data and AI? What qualities does a woman bring to that sector that maybe men don't actually have those differences? Do you see that we have qualities that maybe would make us better at AI, better with data?
Well, you've only got to look at the big players in AI, and it's, the Elon Musks and the Sam Altmans, all the people running these companies. They're all male, and they're all at each other's throats. So I think, that's the thing that women can has a quality that a lot of men don't have. It is being able to deal with things more collaboratively. Because it beggars belief what you see sometimes, people getting sacked from boardrooms, etc., etc. So if that's the role model in data, if those are the kind of role models in data, that's a concern, isn't it?
It is. But then again, we also, as women, I know personally, I've reflected upon my own interactions and communications. We can be softer, which is a good quality, but it's also a limiting factor for us sometimes. I know I used to write emails constantly saying, please, sorry, I'm just asking. And it's a natural thing. We're not as aggressive in many aspects. which brings qualities of that. Yeah, we're more collaborative potentially. However, we can limit ourselves and play ourselves down a little sometimes. I know I have done in the past. Is that maybe why we don't succeed as highly, and we do put our own glass ceiling on, I suppose? Any thoughts on that at all?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think generally speaking, we don't like to negotiate because we don't like to upset the apple cart. We don't want to ruin the relationships we've built. We tend not to advocate for ourselves so much as we advocate for others. We tend to put other people forward, don't we? It's that kind of more nurturing approach that is that. And again, we're talking generally here, but it is that more nurturing approach. You will advocate for somebody else much faster than you will advocate for yourself, which does in turn leave us behind a little bit. And to touch on what Christina said before is, there are definitely those generalized stereotypical ways of being. Male is seen to be very assertive with the aggression, the passion, etc. And women are more of that nurturing, sort of less direct. So to put it into sort of an email context, most of the time you'll see, hey, how are you? Hope everything's well. And then we go on to ask with our justs and sorries and pleases. Whereas from a lot of my male colleagues, I just get, Claire, can this be done by such and such time? Cheers. And when you flip that on its head and you change up how you email and you do something similar, I'm quite direct in my approach. And initially people kind of go, oh, that's a bit intimidating. I'm not really sure about that. But that's because it's not the norm, I think, a lot of the time. So I think we do place these things on ourselves sometimes, and it's something we have to kind of be aware of. And absolutely, it can be a positive for us. But as long as we know how to use it, we can nurture it in the right direction, for want of a better phrase.
Really interesting to hear. Yeah, and Christina's nodding her head there in
I'm nodding a lot because sometimes I've been told that I can be intimidating. It's also, you don't see it here, but I'm also quite told in data terms 2 standard deviations, some of them in, but it's really it's somewhat shocking when they see a woman that is taller than them and that speaks confidently and in a certain way aggressively compared to others. So it's also a negative. So we've got the negative sometimes on both sides. So sometimes we are too soft and sometimes we're trying to be harder. We get shut down because it's too much. So it's much harder for women to find the fine tune of what's the right point. And the advantage of it is that we learn to play it. Once we do, we're having the challenges at the beginning, but once we overcome them, that gives us tools that maybe others are not aware of.
I really appreciate that. I'm just really mindful of time. I would, Erin, have we got some questions within the chat or points that want to be raised within that? I'm just mindful we've got about 15 minutes left. I've noticed people supporting yet.
Yeah, so we've had a question that says, while your job may not be replaced by AI, your job may well be at risk from someone who understands and uses AI and data analysis. What are the panel's views on this take?
I think that's a true statement. I think, we've got this period of time between now and however long, 3 or 4 years, where the world around us is going to change, not just in project delivery, but just generally, to a bigger degree than probably anyone has ever experienced. And it will be those who understand what's going on, how to use it and how to augment their lives with these skills will be the ones who prosper. So I think that is undoubtable now. People have been saying it for a while and people are umming and ahhing. I think it's getting clearer and clearer now that the separation between those who even can just use basic large language models and not is getting more and more stark every day. So jump in, I think, is what I'd say as quickly as you can.
Yeah, there's.
Go on, Sonika, go on.
Sorry, I was just going to say that's one of the valuable things that I've learned from the apprenticeship. Where you're in a role and you have a lot of raw data that you're handling, the skills that you pick up alongside the apprenticeship that you can apply and the efficiencies that it creates are unreal.
Yeah.
The fact that it is all on the job learning as well. You block out time, as Laura was saying earlier, in order to complete your modules, and you can complete that using the data from your normal day-to-day job. So not only are you completing your apprenticeship models, but you're actually applying it at the same time. So my recommendation would be, if somebody has the opportunity to join an apprenticeship of this nature, grab it with both hands.
Yeah.
It's proven invaluable for the role that I do.
That's lovely to hear. Thank you. Christine, are you going to add something?
Just a quick note on the AI replacing jobs. I remember I saw a study was some time ago, so I hope it has changed, that said that there was a major difference in studies whether women or men were interested in exploring AI, and men were much more interested. So that's a big red flag for me, because that means that they may get an advantage. So just a shout to all women out there, explore it, because our future depends on it.
Yeah.
I saw a really interesting piece on AI the other day, and how it almost generated a response that was quite gender biased. AI was gender biased, and it literally took out a whole load of role profiles, and it assigned genders to the roles, and it was very much, she's a cleaner, he's a data programmer. So we need women within that sector to drive the AI meeting needs of women as well, really, I guess. And if it's men driving it, what's AI going to be? Male-driven information. Yeah. Okay, that was really good. Have we got any more questions, Erin? I saw another couple pop up.
Yeah, so we've had a few questions about people are looking for like career changes and have had career breaks, and sort of what options are there to do the apprenticeships, and sort of advice for them going on that, starting their apprenticeship journey.
There's no limiter for age, and I think that's the whole perk of apprenticeships. You can do a degree at any age, but you don't have to lose your income to do it, which is often the critical part. When you're in your 40s or 50s, can you really start to look at losing income? So for me, there's no age limit, and I would say at Projecting Success, a large number of our learners, and usually are in older age brackets. We're dealing predominantly with people in professional roles, professional industries, who've maybe got 5, 10, 15 years industry experience. However, they want to become more specialist. They want to become better at their role. They want to know how to actually use data more effectively to be better at what they do. So there's no limiting factor on that at all. If anything, sometimes age and experience and wisdom can make it easier for you to achieve it, I would often say. So no limiting factor. I think I've seen an apprentice in their 60s before on a data course. Not here, but so yeah, any age at all. Anything else, Erin?
Yeah, and earlier we were touching on sort of like hackathons and like going into schools, and Martin has asked that we have a huge diversity at the hacks, but that isn't represented in the profession. Do we need a basket of ideas to drive this agenda, such as role models, mentors, communities of practice?
Yeah. We currently run OneXN, but there's other initiatives out there. I don't know if they all communicate together. This is part of the problem as well, all coming together as a collective, having a stronger message. Has anybody got any experience of working with other partnerships to drive this forward? Is there anything you do within your own sectors to drive it forward? I know, Claire, you've touched upon that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we work in sort of collaboration with a few different suppliers, and they also have their own apprenticeship routes. Do we come together often enough? Probably not, in all honesty. We probably work in our own niche sort of pools, if you will, and then we kind of look over the parapet, have a look and see what they're doing. They do the same to us, and on we go. And I think actually what we probably need to do is starting thinking about this and collectively doing something as an industry to push this forward, because I think if everyone does it in silo, we'll only ever get so far. There needs to be that entire sort of mesh together industry push, I think. And I really like what Martin said there. Can we start bringing something together? Can we start bringing role models? Can we start doing outside mentorships and things like that? Because actually that will grow quite naturally and organically, won't it?
it's something we've started at Projecting Success, and we are trying to push this and drive this forward. But it's those connections, isn't it? It's people willing to get on and collectively push out a message. A message from 4 or 5 people, it's only going to go so far. You need to get some weight behind it. You need to get that power of people all working together in conjunction. What do they look like? Maybe how do we get that message across? Because we can sit here and do as many webinars as we want, but does it change anything? What would change things, I guess? Any suggestions? What would make you take yourself back 10 years? What would make you look back and go, actually, this is worth a thought? What maybe I'll explore. I don't know how personally to attract women, other than the role models, webinars like this talking about it. Any suggestions of things that might be successful, or what you've seen that's been successful?
A lot of secondary schools, they have careers fairs that they hold every year, for the school leavers, potentially having tables at the career fairs. I know when we go to Highways UK, they have some awesome interactive things that you can do. So to incorporate something along the lines of data with that, it can give somebody a quick snapshot of what they can expect from going down into STEM.
It always keeps coming back to that early stage, doesn't it? And getting them. There are opportunities. I think we should be looking at introducing women to STEM, even in their 40s and 50s. There's no limit. There's no time frame to it. But you are right, that early key message within schools and engaging with school learners. But how do we do it with an industry, with people who will all be out there and in it? How do we encourage women? I've had several women say, I just don't like data, it's not my thing. And I'd say they're maybe more reluctant. It's that nervousness, isn't it? They're not as competitive, there's not always as fierce. How do we break down that barrier, I suppose?
I think we also need to, we need to look at how we do attract people in the first instance, not just getting them engaged at the younger age, because obviously we've discussed that already, but actually recruiting. We tend to fall back on the fail safes. We put information out on LinkedIn, and what do we do that's different, I guess, and how do we make things different? Should we be hosting like local events at places where we're looking to recruit and hire, and actually have more female representation at these events, and show them kind of, for want of a nicer phrase, sort of the juicier side of it, if you will? Because when you initially say data, it sounds very dry, it sounds very dull. And when I talk to people about my job, you can sort of see the eyes roll and they start disengaging a little bit. But actually, I didn't start off like this. This isn't what I started. When I very, very first started working alongside uni, I was a fashion merchandiser for Warehouse way back in the day. Did I think I was going to sit here working within kind of those construction-led industries, the data-heavy industries? No. But it's all about how you present it and the representation, and how we can showcase it. So I think doing other events to kind of show that more exciting side of it will bring them along.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement with you. And Laura will know what I'm talking about in a minute. I'm going to mention, I saw somebody use data last week for the most romantic purpose ever. I was just wondering, how do you relate data to being very romantic, but make it a gift that was romantic? It was using data from his WhatsApp messages between partner and himself, and it created this beautiful heart shape of all the key terms, and it, for me, it made it relatable. It made it, because I am a kind of creative person, so it made it, oh yeah, I could buy into that. And I think it is getting that buy-in, that it's not just numbers and figures and it's all quite harsh lines. It can be used for better purposes. It can be used for health purposes. It can be used for so much. And we maybe don't pass that message very much. It's often it's about help with this project to make sure it's timely, but it can be used for so many other purposes. That might be the buy-in that we need to attract a broader circle of people, I guess. You know how I mean, don't you, Robert?
I have one nice use case for that, which is that I use data analytics to determine the date of my wedding. So
Oh,
I did a
wow.
climate study. My wedding was in Seville, a climate study of the last 5 years of data. And I found the optimal date was in February. Everywhere it was like February. And it turned out to be the best day ever, sunny 20 degrees.
Oh.
So yeah, I recommend doing that.
Data wins. Data does rule the world. You see, it proves that's what it's for. But it is those things. It's that softer stuff. It can be used for so much. It can be used to create change within the world. Like I say, within health sector particularly, there's a lot of emphasis at the minute. How can the NHS be more streamlined through using data and AI? Can you imagine reinventing the NHS and making it effective purely through the use of better data and AI tools? So, yeah, I'm just very mindful of time. We've got 4 minutes left. Has anybody got anything they want to add? Anything, Erin, that we've not addressed within the questions?
Yeah, I don't think there's been any more sent through.
Okay, that's fabulous, fabulous. Anybody within the panel got anything further to add? Anything you maybe would like to?
I think just repeating what others have said, and if you're thinking about doing an apprenticeship or thinking about taking a step into data, just do it. Just take that first step. Don't hesitate. Just take that leap and reach out to us if you want that conversation.
Oh, thank you, Laura. That's really appreciated. I'm pleased you're having a really enjoyable experience, and I can see how much you're getting from it. So it's really lovely to see. We have got some details on the screen here of the hack that's coming up. So if anybody wants to join and be involved in that, that's really good. The Project WOMXN, open to anybody. It's not open to women. It's anybody of any gender who feels that they'd like to drive this forward, be a part of it. Please either contact myself or follow the kind of links here. And then we've got the Project Data Analytics Task Force. So anything that you want to be involved in, get further information on, that's really appreciated. I just want to say thank you to everybody for your time. It's been extremely beneficial to us all. It's raised a lot of questions in my head and my mind of what more can we do? We've all got a commitment, and we've all got to make a difference and make it change. We've got to increase those figures much quicker than they are. At 2070 is too far away for it to be equality. So thank you again. I will hopefully see you again. Any further questions, my email address and projection success is within the chat. And I'd like to thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Everybody.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye-bye
Have a
now.
lovely week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.